Okay. Shalom Chaver. We're going to start, Mr. Shem. We started yesterday a little bit on the Mishnah, but we're gonna start from the beginning. I'm in the wrong place. Bezim and Aleph, the bottom. So the Mishnah. Kama Malkin Isa. How many Malkus does this guy get? We're talking about Malkus all the time. How many does he get? He gets 40 minus one. I'm assuming the way the Mishnah says this lashon is because the Torah says 40. So the Gemara is alluding to that number instead of just saying 39, as if it's a completely random number. This is my own heart, just as I'm talking now. Abam chazachas, because it's coming from the Abam of the pasuk. Shneva misma Abam minyan shehu samach Abam. A number that's close to 40, and in other words, after this number is 40. Yud Aimer Abam shleimus, who like he gets a full 40. Vahechan, who like us as a hayisera ben kseifa. Now Rabbi Yehuda is going in later on in the Mishnah explaining how we divide up the Malchus. So he's jumping the gun a little bit, but he assumes that we know that we already divide it, and he's saying, where's the extra one? So we're going to learn how we divide it in a second. But the extra one goes between the shoulders. We only give him, and this machlekes v'shainim, if this is in Rabbi Yehuda only in the Tana, if it's only in the Tanakama to Rabbi Yehuda also. Only give him sets of three malchus. We're going to see later on the Mishnah the Mishnah is going to explain, or the Gemara, I forgot already, but how we divvy up the three. But it's a set of three malchus. So let's say, for example, a person only able to get 19 malchus. We only give him 18 because 19 is not divided by three, and the next bracket is 21, and he doesn't qualify for 21. So 19 goes down to 18. Amdu lekabel abam v'leika mixes. They say the Bezdin, the appraisal, the in-house medic, the in-house doctor says this guy could accept 40. He can get 40 malchus. And they start going. 1, 2, 3, they start going. But Amdush in Yachal Kababam. Potter from being mashlam. So in other words, in the middle, they see the guys like tittering and shaking, and he can't handle it. Whatever the gather can't handle is however the doctor decides. So Potter means that he's Potter. They don't wait, let him get healed up, and hit him again. Whatever he got in Zeu. Amdu l'kabel shmona esrei. If he says he can get 18, u'mishalaka amdu sheyachal hu like who sheyachal hu l'kabel abam Potter. Let's say the original appraisal comes in at 18, and then they give him this 18, and he looks okay. We could do another. Let's go for another 3. The one says no. Once you gave him this 8, once you donned him 18, he gets his 18, and then he's done. So the Gemara, my time. What's the reason why? What? What's the reason why we dash in this pasuk to say 39 and not 40? So the pasuk is very interesting. The pasuk doesn't say abam mispar. The Gemara is going to say ikas abam mispar havamina abam minyana. If it would say abam mispar, I would say no. It's a full 40. Hash d'chsiba mispar abam minyan shu soichem es abam. It's a number that comes to round out to tally up to total to 40. The number right before totals 40 is 39. Now the pasuk doesn't really read the way the Gemara kind of said it. So the Gemara, the pasuk is over here. Yeah, the pasuk is as I. V'hayim ben hakas Rashi v'pilu ha'shayfet v'hikau lefanav k'dei v'shasei b'mispar. Saif pasuk. Then the next pasuk says arba'am yakenu lo yosef pen yosef. So the b'mispar abam is not like the way the Gemara says it is. You think it's the same pasuk. That's how you read it. That's not. It's a drasha. The pasuk before it ends b'mispar. The next pasuk starts about abam. So b'mispar abam is like the pasuk is alluding to. It's a number almost to 40. Zok the Gemara weiter. Amar Rava kama tibshai shar inchi. The how foolish are people that they'll stand up in front of Adam and in front of the Sefer Torah, but they won't stand up in front of Adam God, somebody who learns Torah. Why? Why is this coming off this drasha? The ilu the Sefer Torah ksiv arbam. The Torah says 40. And the Chacham say nope, only 39. So you see that the Chacham are stronger than the Torah. The Chacham have the koyach to manipulate the Torah, obviously with certain rules. But you see that the Chacham are greater than the Torah, and to stand up for Sefer Torah and not for Adam Chashav is tipshus. Now, what's interesting is just ha'ara that I remember hearing a long time ago. We also have this. We're coming to serious. The Torah says counts 50 days, and the Chazal say 49. Why doesn't Rava say his halacha over there? Oh, the people are so namish that they send them for a sefer Torah, not people, because the Torah says you count 50, and the Chacham say 49. Because the galus the Chacham is that they get a yid to get hit one time less. That's the galus. To count one day less is not such a chiddush, but the yid should get one less malchus. That's already a galus. Yehuda Aimer Abam Shleimus. Amar Yitzchak, my time in the Yehuda. My time of the Yehuda is not going on the Shlemus. My time of the Yehuda is going on this 40th that goes between his Sefer. Chsiv, Ma Makkos Daf ben Yedecha v'Amar Asher Kesi Beis Me'ahave. This pasuk is referring to a Navi Sheker, and he says that this clap that I got was between my hands, which he translates between his shoulders. But this pasuk is talking about when he got hit in yeshiva. Ain't I'm the Mel of Makkos Aruyas. Laka in light, laka light. So it's mashma. The Gemara says that what? It's not focusing on the right words over here, but the Gemara says that what? If he got partially malchus and then they realize that he can't handle anymore, then he goes out. Then he's potter from his rest of his malchus. But if he didn't get any malchus, then he's not potter. Wait a minute. For the Gemara, we have a brayso that says not like that. Amdu lekabel abam. If they don him to be mekabel abam, v'chaziv am ein yachal lekabel abam potter. And then they say, oh, never mind. He can only get 21. So then he's potter not from the full amount, but from to be mashlim the 21. So in other words, if he say we could do 40, then he shows up and they say we're going to do 21. We don't say, oh, let him go home and recuperate and take some, go for an IV drip and then come back when you can handle 40. That's it. You say he could do 21, he could do 21. And the other way also, I'm do the kabel shman esrei because I'm do shiyach the kabel abam potter. Even if he does not get malchus. So you see, there's not a Mishnah. Our Mishnah is talking about that he got done that same day. So in the morning they done him for 40. He starts getting malchus, and then they don't. And then they don't. If they down him for 40, let's say they go to the other case. So the other way is more complicated. If he down him for 18 in the morning, he comes later on and he says that you could do 40. If they didn't start giving him out, because they would have to do the full 40. Only because he started getting his original psak of 18. Then after the 18, they realize, oh, he can handle more. Then you don't do it. The brisa that says that even if he doesn't get malchus, if his original dan was 18, and now he could be evaluated for 40, even without anything, he gets only his 18. That's because it was a few days later. So we don't say that the original evaluation was done b'taz. If Babi Yom he shows up, the original evaluation says 18, and later that before, and he comes to Bez and they look at him and say this guy can handle 40. If he didn't get malchus yet, according to the Mishnah, say Babi Yom he would get malchus. He would get the full 40, 39. But the brisa is talking about a few days later. So a few days later, it could be that the original evaluation was good, and now and that's it. So now he comes and he could do more. It doesn't matter. That was a good evaluation. Someone evaluated for 18 in the morning, and then at 40 and in the afternoon, it looks like he can do 40. Obviously, the first evaluation was incorrect. It's a little more complicated all the way around because you have to see the Rashash. I did not get a chance to. Why can't you use the second evaluation on when he starts with 40 and goes less? Okay. So the Mishnah. Avad aver sheyesh by shnei lavim amdu aymed echad like a pata. If they evaluate him for one set if they do one evaluation for the whole thing, then he gets his malchus and he goes home. Then lav like but if they want to give him two sets. If they want to evaluate him for two, the Gemara is going to explain exactly what this means. That then he gets his first set, he goes home and he recuperates and he gets his second set. Again, this is talking about one Maisa that's 2 lavim. For example, the Ravon brings down, we had yesterday the case of 8 lavim, but 2 of them is if you do climb with the animal and you plow climb. If you plow climb animals in with the climb produce. In that case, you either one Maisa, you did one Maisa of plowing, and you have 2 lavim, climb for animals, climb for sada. Now, over there, wearing Klayim, for example, would be another Maisa because you put on your pants at home and then you came to the field. And if you're that's already 2 7 Maisa. So we're talking about that one Maisa would be 2 lavim, and over there the Mishnah, I don't even think you even have more than Yantav Shemitah. You could stack more than two, but we're talking about just two, just to simplify things. So the you don't do one either for 2 lavim. This when you do 41, right? When you do 41, if you're being maimed, you remember Klaf 41. But if you're maimed for 41, then what? Then you have to push him back down to 39, which means he only got one set of malchus. Hadam du la'arbam v'tarti. Over here, once you evaluate him that he can handle 42, so you already have 3 malchus into the next shlav of malchus. Now you could do 2 at the same time. So if he's only able to withstand one set of malchus, which means 39 or less malchus, then you only give him malchus for one of the lavim at a time. So he has to get his, let's say, for example, down him up for 21 or for 36, right? 36 is divisible by 3. 36. Then he gets his 36, he goes home, recuperates, and then comes back and gets done again for the next lav. But as long as you can give him as long as he could withstand more than one set of malchus, which means minimum of 42 malchus, because that's 3 into the next bracket, into the next shlav, then you'd be able to get both malchus in the same session. So the Mishnah Kate said, Malkin, I say, what is the process of malchus? This is mamish the end of malchus, and we're finally getting to the whole procedure here. They tie him down to a pillar in the floor, and they tie each hand to one side. The Chazan HaKnesses says Oiches Begadov, and the Chazan HaKnesses is the guy who the Balabas, the Loika, he's the one in charge over there. He grabs his called him Nikru. They shove his. This is a Tzad to not the Gzer Shava to Saita is the same motion by Saita. Achu Megala Eslibai, which is going to be our next Masechta Hashem after Pesach. Achu Megala Eslibai till is Megala his chest. You know, they rip him down. They make him bare chested, bare backed as well. But Evan Suna Me'ach, they put a stone behind him. Chazan HaKnesses Aymed Alav. The Chazan HaKnesses stands on the stone, so he's much higher than the guy who's getting malchus. The Malki, and he has a leather strap of calf hide. Kafula, it's doubled. If it's 2 to 4 or 1 to 2, then to 4. And 2, they take out the word chamar because the Gemara explains later that it's chamar. It doesn't really make sense the Gemara to say that it's chamar if it says chamar in the Mishnah. But spoiler alert, it's chamar. And 2 vitzuas of chamar hide. But it's like woven into the calf hide. The handle is a tefach by a tefach. And the edges of the whip has to be able to when it hits his back to wrap around him in the bike. I'm getting already like I feel it in my stomach just thinking about it. And he hit him once in front and 2 in the back. A shlish. In other words, we said before, the previous Mishnah said, two Mishnahs ago said that you mashulish, you divide the malchus by 3, and that's a division. Once in the front and 2 in the back. The person who's getting the malchus is not standing and not sitting. Ella muta shenema v'apila shayfet, and the shayfet pushes him down. Which it's and the one dash later that's also in a derogatory position. So even sitting is a submissive position, but you sound like a mensch. To be standing over, slumped over, tied up like a behemoth is a very derogatory way of standing, and it's done b'daf like that. Again, all of this is a kapara. No, we're not trying to chalila denigrate anyone. Just down for the heck of it, it's all part of the kapara, all part of his kapara, and you'll see that if he gets too far in his busha, we call it quits. And you hold it with one hand with kol koicha. You know that if you do something with 2 hands, it's counterintuitive, but it's actually not as strong. One-handed is much stronger. No, you swing a baseball bat, you swing a baseball bat, the finish is usually, I think, it's supposed to be with one hand. Or maybe I made that up. Maybe that's why I'm not such a good batter. Kaira, and so the Gemara is going to say there's three people involved over here. There's the guy who hits. There's four people involved. There's the Kaira, there's the hitter, the Kaira, the counter, and the guy who says hit. So the Kaira reads the following second: "Im loy sishma laslays v'hifla Hashem es makaischa v'es makas v'chayze v'tchila hamikra v'shmakim es divya abris hazayis v'chaysim v'rachim v'chapa avayin." And he repeats the psukim as needed. And if he follows this protocol and he gets a value and he only does what he's supposed to do and he dies, he's pater. If he adds one extra clap, now he already is goyla. Now, if this guy soils himself, that's the art school word. That's a very good, perfect word to use. Whether it's katana or gedalim, he's pater. We have other places that Isha has a lower threshold for busha. So if a woman soils herself with katanim, it's enough of a busha to let her off the hook. But a man has to be beraya with gedayim. So the Gemara of my time, what is the reason why we put him in this slum position? Misham nikla, because we want to make. It's all part of the Bizayin process. Why we tie him down and why we make him stand in a slump position. How do we know that it's from the Egel? So we see that we already had other reasons why the other things we learned out from this smichas of Leisachim Shara to Makkos. There has to be, it can't be asay, and it can't be Lashem B'maisa, and it can't be Lavanitik Lasay. But this is another thing we learned, that the shar is involved in the Makkos process. How? Because his hide is used for the Makkos. Now this is going to be a few members by Rav Sheshes, Rav Elazar. It may not have to do with Makkos exactly, but we're going to say them anyway. How do we know that if a woman falls to her brother-in-law, right? Yavama is that a woman's husband dies and he does not have any children. Then she falls to Yibam, to his brother. So let's say he's the youngest in the family, and his brother's very, very old. Or in this case, he's a mukashchen. He has a tremendous. It's not even like a physical appearance really, and that's obviously a part of the problem. But mukashchen is also it's also very detrimental to him to be married. And the Ma'aser Tashmish is very detrimental to mukashchen. But regardless, it's something that she detests and she doesn't want to be with. How do we know that we don't say just be quiet and marry the guy? Next to the pasuk of Leisachim Shar is the pasuk of the parsha of Yavama. So we see that there is an idea by Yavama of not muzzling your shar. Somebody who's maza chalamayit is referring to is chilu v'diravad. Do not make any other gods of molten, whatever that means, like manufactured gods. The samichlei is chagamatzis tishmar. So the pasuk of chagamatzis tishmar is very interesting. It says over here they didn't bring it down on the side, but I found it in the Chumash. Oh no, that's the wrong one. I think they do bring it down over here. It's chagamatzis tishmar. It's chagamatzis tishmar shivas yamim. Right, so it says you should watch the Eschag Matzah Tishmar Shivas Yamim, and then it says Taicha Matzah is Asher Tzivicha. So you could read it. Eschag Matzah Tishmar Shivas Yamim. No, I'm sorry. Okay, the normal way, the Pashup Pshat of reading is Eschag Matzah Tishmar, and then it says Shivas Yamim Taicha Matzah. So 7 days you should eat matzahs. So you could read it, but Jewish we're reading it as Chag HaMatzos Tishma Shivas Yamim. You should watch the Chag HaMatzos for 7 days. We know that Hishamar is a lashon of, let's say, a lashon of Bittul Malacha. So that's the drasha of as Chag HaMatzos Tishma Shivas Yamim, that you should not do Malacha for 7 days. Now, we know that we're allowed to do Malacha on it's a different type of Malacha that we're not allowed to do during Chol Hamoed. There's a lot of coolest and a lot of workarounds, but this is like a smach, and it's the fact that it brings it next to the pasuk of not to do avodah zarah. It's saying someone who's mevazeh in that is a shaykhis by the zara. Amar of sheish mishum lazim and azay call hamisapel lashon hara v'chol makabel lashon hara v'chol hameyud eda sheker royliz the ashlicha the klavim. It's kedai. He's right to be sent to the dogs. Somebody who said again, somebody who says lashon hara, someone who's makabel lashon hara, and somebody who says eda sheker. The chsiv lakel tashichu oisai. It says the pasuk of treifa that after you find the animal that's a treifa, you should you can feed it to the dogs, which is actually very interesting because the reason why they get scar for this, the reason why the dogs get props, get a shout out in the Torah is for mamish the coming Makkos Daf, mamish tomorrow, tomorrow Wednesday, right? The first day Yom Tif is Makkos Daf, and and they didn't make a sound the whole night, and that's why they get this. They just got this now. Okay, very very geschmack. You should not hear a false hearing. This is referring to edus and the karibinami loisasia, and you could also read it loisasia. You should not cause false edus to be heard, which means you shouldn't say false edus, which is not referring to the edus only, but it's referring to any diburim of sheker. And further on, it says in the pasuk that you shouldn't hook up with a rasha and do false edus. So you see the smichas of the parish is again the same idea. You see over here because we say shalchamar means it's mashma the Gemara, at least they don't have the gears in the Mishnah that it said chamar, otherwise we wouldn't have to say it over here. Tana shel chamar kedidarish ahu galila alei Rav Chizda. This guy from Galil dashin by Rav Chizda Yadash. I shouldn't say guy, it could be he's a Admachashav if Chizda listened to this Torah, but there's a person from Galil dashing to Rav Chizda, and he said like this, Yada Shar Kanei V'Chamar Evos Ba'alav Yisrael Yada. It's giving the Bnei Yisrael Teichacha Musar that the ox and the shar know, the ox and the donkey know who their masters are, and the Yisrael got lost somehow. So Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu Yada Misha Makar Evos Ba'alav V'Yipar Misha Ina Makar Evos Ba'alav. Let the chamar that knows Evas Balav, knows its owner's trough, knows where it comes home to, and let him teach the Klai Yisrael that doesn't know, that seems to be struggling with this. The other tafach, the handle is tafach, the Mishnah said, Amar Abai Shema Mina Kol Chad V'Chad V'Fum Gabe Avdina Lei. No, the tafach is a standard measurement, but it's also meant that the hand should fit comfortably around it. So he says, you see from here that every single person, every Gabai should have a custom-made whip. But Amarlei Rava Imkain Nafish Lahu Ritzuis. You're going to have a bunch of Ritzuis hanging around Bezin. Every guy that comes is going to have a custom job. It doesn't make any sense. Amar Rava Avkasa Isla, there was a slip knot, and every Gabai needed to make it as according to their measurements. When they had to tighten it, they tightened it. When they had to loosen it, they loosened it. Malkin, I say, how do I know that? What's this going on? Malkin Isai. What are we going on over here? Oh, with what Malkin is with his whole strength. Let's see the Gemara. Oh, this is how we know that it's one in the front, two in the back. So Malkin Isai, how do we know that it's one in the front and two in the back? Taka. You know how to mean. Hit him the fun of. Now the fun of means over here Pashup Shat, the fun of the judge. From the judge. The mispar. The mispar achrav. It's a risha achrav. Fun of shtei rishayis me'achrav. Even though the pasuk does not say me'achrav. So he says hit him once in front of him. Kadir shall say one, but mispar, and then again twice. Mispar is another count, which is the lowest number is two after behind them. How do I know that it's doubled over? And we should dash into the hechfilu, it's lashon kafel. We have to know that he himself has to be doubled over. So how could you say that it's going on the Bitsua? If you want to just talk about the person, then say Yateyu, that you should lean him over, that he should bend over. Maya Pilu, we had this drasha numerous times, and when the Torah deviates from the typical lashon, we're able to expand at multiple drashas. So Maya Pilu, why do you use a weird lashon of Pilu? Atypical lashon of Pilu. I mean, not hard to you see. There's another way that we're being mechufel, which is the person's mechufel and the Ritzu is amachava. Maka biyadai. You have to hit him with one hand with all your strength. We only appoint chazanim. You want you don't want strong people, but you want very smart people. Rav Yehuda no, the other way. Even not such bright people and very strong people. It's more mistabed like Rav Yehuda. Why? Don't hit him lest you hit him. In other words, make sure you don't hit him again. If you're going to say you hired a bunch of dummies, you have to warn them because they might not happen. They might hear, it's okay, stop, and they might not pay attention. If you can say you have very wise people hitting, do you have to warn them? They know. It says they get a patch order. It says 18 Makkos, and that's it. They stop after 18. What do you have to warn them? You only mazer someone who's already holding by that. There's just a line that came to me when I was learning this. My father always said, every time I had a knife in my hand, sakin biad chacham sakanta, which the Pashup Shah of that Drush or Gemara or wherever it's from, is a knife, even in a wise person's hand, is a danger. But I turned it back to him and I said, it could be medayik, it's the other way. It's only in a smart person's hand is a knife a danger, because only he recognizes that it's a danger. Not that it's not a danger in a stupid person's hand, but it's only called a danger by somebody who appreciates that he's holding something that can cause damage. So a guy who's not holding, he's also flaking, he doesn't look at it like a danger. The idea is the same. You have to be careful with the knife you're holding, but just this lashon is more medayik like me. I'm just saying. It was a Torah Kishu Magbiya b'shtei yadav. When you lifted the tzuas, you lifted it with two hands. But when he came down, he did it with one hand. So this is, I think, a little bit like baseball. I don't know. You have to. I think Rafi, you'll let us know afterwards if this is the right way to swing. I think you're supposed to finish off with one hand. I don't think you can finish off with two hands. Okay, either way. It should be like with his full kaiches. The greatest of the Bezdin would be Makkah these psukim. The second chashuv dayan would count the Makkos. And the third guy would yell hit. When you have a lot of Makkos, then you're able to say all these psukim. You have a lot of time. Then you have less time. You have less. Our Mishnah says that you say all these psukim, and then if you have time, you just pass over. You start again. The mitzvah is to do it b'tzimtzum. But if you finish off early, and because you said it too fast, you don't stop. You continue. Then you start again from the top. You do a hadron. So again, the ikar mitzvah is to be mitzamtzim with the Makkos, that the Makkos that should coincide the ending of the psukim to the ending of the Makkos. But if you can't do that, or if you didn't do that, then you finish off and you start again. So it says in the pasuk Makkos Rabba, Amy Ela Makkos Rabba. It says what does it say? I said Arba'am Yakeu Lo Yosef Pen Yosef Hakas as Ela Makkos Rabba V'Nikla Chicha Leinecha. So maybe only the Pen Yosef Al Taisef Lo Yosef Pen Yosef is going on a Makkos Rabba, which means a set of three. Maybe if I want to give him an extra two, I'm allowed to. You shouldn't add at all. What's the pasuk coming to say Makkos Rabba? You should say that the original ones are Makkos Rabba. Even if you only have a few, they should be hard and heavy, and the guy should do with his kol koyach. They should be considered a Makkos Rabba, even a few of them. Miskalko, if he soils himself, what the Gemara is going to discuss is it's only if either side by man and by woman has to be gedolim, not katana. Divrei Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer ha'ish b'reiva ish b'mayim. A man is begedolim and an isha is even bekatana. V'achacham Aimer echad ish v'echad isha bein b'reiva b'mayim. So you have three shitas. Rabbi Meir says they both have to lose control of gedolim. Rabbi Yehuda says that ish is Gedolim that Isha even Katanim, and the Chum say that Sai V'Sai, it's Sai V'Sai. whether man isha or isha bein beria bein gedalim bein ketanim is it's considered they soil themselves and they go out. Tanya, we have a brayse that says that they're similar. That both of them have to do gedalim. He's saying that no, he's not going to be sliced of the Mishnah. His original memory, he's saying that they're both equal berei, but Isha also gets an out by Ketana. Amr Shmuel kafsu v'ratz mebezdin pater. If they tie him up and he runs away, he's pater. Meisvei kala. We learned in the Brayso kala if he soils himself bein the rishayna. Rishayna is not referring to the first klap. Rishayna is the first ma'isa. The first ma'isa is a lift. So if the guy lifts his hand and he soil and the knee then soils himself, bein b'shniya, and of course if he gets hit then he soils himself, paiter. And I say nifsika ritzua, if the strap rips, b'shniya paiter. And I say if on the, in other words, this is rishayna, so shniya, if after he gets hit it snaps, then it's paiter. Rishayna ain't paiter. And I say so after my leather karatz. It should be like rats. In other words, the psikus ritzua should be like rats. If I go up and it snaps, then he should be left free. It should be the same din of rats. The Gemara answers no, because his running away is part of the busha, and that adds his busha, and that already hits his busha threshold that we need, and he's parted from the rest of the ma'isa. But if he lifts the hand and if the gabe lifts the hand and it snaps and he doesn't run away and he sits there, then it's not considered. He doesn't get vinikla, and he has to continue with the process. Tana Rabbanan, Amdula kashiyikla kala paitan. I say, Amdula kashiyikla if they kashiyikla kala paitan. I say, if they hit him, if they dan him, if they evaluate him, that when he will, before he even gets hit, he will lose himself, or if before he even gets hit, he's gonna soil himself, then he doesn't even start the whole process. I think it's maybe the first one. If they down him up that after he gets the first clap, they don't even give him the first clap. Because she gets him bezin the kala malkan, I say. But if they evaluate him that after his 39 malchus or whatever his din is, in other words, they say he can handle 18 and then he's gonna soil himself. Then we give him his malchus. If he defiles himself, if he soils himself before he gets any malchus, you still continue with the malchus. And it has to be it has to be after he gets malchus, and then there's a nikla, and not that he's already mefuzam bezin. The question is, according to that pasuk, how does the ruts work? It could be he doesn't know like this. It doesn't seem to stem with the ruts. With the ruts case. Okay. Anybody who gets malchus, any chayiv creases that gets malchus, they're parted from their kares. Again, any chayiv creases that end up getting malchus, again, this is obviously only in the sheet that says that a chayiv creases, like Rabbi Kiva says, that a chayiv creases is subject to malchus. But and once you get malchus, according to this manamar, you would hold that you don't get the kares afterwards. And part of kares is not just dying young, but it's also being cut off from Klal Yisrael. So the fact that we call him achicha, it means that after the vinikla, he's considered achicha. After the malchus, he's already your brother, and the kares is off. This is Rav Chanina ben Gamliel. I'm Rav Chanina ben Gamliel. Another halacha, ma'im ha'over aver achas neitel nashay. They give him life for doing mitzvahs. And we always say midat havim meruba, so alachas kam v'kam. Shimon Omer, who lamed. You don't need this kavachamer. You can learn out from the psukim themselves. Shenema v'nechasa nefesh ha'isais by the isser, by the all the surei bia. It says the nechasa nefesh ha'isais. But Omer asher yasa isam v'chai b'hem. The pasuk that leads before that says if Shemar v'shamata es kol advar ma'ela asher anechi mitzavacha l'manite v'lecha l'venecha acharecha. No, this is not the right thing. Hold on one second. No, this is mixed up the psukim. Sorry. This that is referring. This is the end of the parsha or the before. This is before the whole list of the arayas. It says that if you watch yourself, then I will v'chai b'hem. Hakol hayeshiv v'lo avera noisin leitzchar ka'isa mitzvah. Why? Because all these averas that are listed are all from the asays. They're all isurei of doing things. So just by refraining and watching yourself from these things, it'll be a life for you. Rabbi Shimon Rabbi Aimer Harehu Aimer Rak Chazak Lebilti Echel Adam Kedam Hu Nefesh. And then the pasuk says, and this is the pasuk I was looking at. And then the pasuk says that it will be very good for you if you do all these mitzvahs, or first a bunch of mitzvahs. It will be good for you. Shema v'shamata es kol advarim ha'ela asher anechim tzevach l'man yitev lecha u'levenecha acharecha ad olam kitasa l'tayv ha'yasher ke'enei ve'enei Hashem leikacha. And it's referring to it, including the law of eating blood. U'ma em adam shenafshei shel adam katzim mimenu emadach eating blood, which is a disgusting thing, and the natural people have an aversion to it, which is because in the machlekes, I forgot where else. If it's a very easy mitzvah or a very hard mitzvah to do. But of course, I guess this is according to my Nami that it's very hard, easy mitzvah to do. And somebody who's pirish and gets such schar that it's going to be good for you and your children ad olam, because of arayis shenashe shel adam misavalem umechamdasan arayis and gzela. The person runs after that. And someone's misgaben etzara alachas kam v'kama. She's calling the rest of the rest of I'd say call it dias. Chanina ben Akashi Omer, Batzach Hashbaruch Hu, L'Zakis Yisrael, Lefikach Heber Lehem, Torah Mitzvah Shenem Hashem Chotzon Titla, Torah V'Yader, probably one of the most famous mishnayos in the world. But it's interesting. L'Zakis Yisrael means to be mizak, to give them schosim. But I don't know why when I was learning this, I had a hergish that L'Zakis is lashon zika of a yavama. Hashem wants to connect to us, so He gives us all these extra Torahs. And Hashem Chavetz Matzah Torah V'Yader. Anyone wants to say Kaddish? Okay. So the Gemara, Rabbi Yechon Chalukir Olav Chaveirav Shel Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel. They argue in Chanina ben Gamliel that says that if someone gets Malchus, the chorus is off. They argue his chaveirav arguing. Amar Rav Barav Amar Rav Amri Beirav Taninan Ein Bain. We learned this Mishnah in Megillah, I believe. Yeah, I don't know why it's not quoted in Masechet Shas, but Maisa it's in. Oh, it does say that. Gimel. It says in Megillah. It quotes it from the beginning. It's weird. It's not where it starts from. Okay, interesting. Okay, Ein Bein Shabbos Yom Kippurim Ela Shezev is done b'dei Adam is done b'dei Kares. Ve'im Isa, and if you're right that when you get Malchus you get off your Kares, then both of them will be b'dei Adam. Again, right? That's what we said. Ein Bein Shabbos Yom Kippurim Ela Shezev done b'dei Adam is done b'dei Kares. Because Yom Kippur is Kares, and that's b'dei Shemayim. So the M.E. said, if you're right that is right, that you get Malchus would pater you up from Kares, then they're both b'dei Adam. And the Gemara, I divided b'dei Adam. Nachman Yitzchak Amar Hamani Rabbi Yitzchak Amar Malchus b'chayv creases leka. The Tanya Malchus b'chayv creases leka. There's no Malchus b'chayv creases. The Tanya Rabbi Yitzchak Amar chayv creases b'chlal ha'yivlam yotzer Kares b'chaysai the dining b'Kares v'loy Malchus. This is a sheet that we had in this Masech already, and so that that you only get Kares for all the Arvis and not Malchus, so it's not Negeya. So that Mishnah is I guess it's conflicting Mishnayos. That Mishnah holds that you get. There's no such thing as Malchus by Kares, and our Tana that says that you get Malchus off, you get Kares off when you get Malchus. That's another sheet of Ashi Amar Filut Hemer Rabban. You can say it's everybody. Why? The Iker done b'nei Adam. The Iker is done b'nei Adam. B'nei Shemayim. You could still say that the Mishnah means that the Iker Aveir, the Iker Einish is in b'nei Shemayim. It happens to be that if you get Malchus, then you'll be Pater. But the Iker is b'nei Shemayim. So it still stems. Another couple of minutes. Amar Rav Barav Amar Rav Halach Rav Chanina ben Gamliel. Kafaka passing like that. Amar Yosef. Man Salik La'elav Asavaimer. Who went up to Shemayim and brought this down for you? Amalei Elahad Amar Rabbi Shua ben Levi Shloisha Dvarim Asu ben Bezdin Shalmata Viskimu Bezdin Shalmala Al Yadam Man Salik Le'ela V'Asav Amar. Who? How do you know that Bezdin was? How do they know that Bezdin was Bezdin Shalmala was masculine? Ela Kvai Kai Dashinan. Must be that they were that the Dashim Sukhim to teach you that they were masculine Shemayim. Hachanami Karina Kadarshan. So too they darshaned it. One more shtickle. Gufa Amar Rabbi Shua ben Levi Shloisha Dvar Asu Bezdin Shamata V'Skimu Bezdin Shamala Al Yadam Eluhain Mikra Megillah, which we had Mikra Megillah V'She'el Shalom B'Shem and greeting a guy with the Shem Hashem V'Avaz Meiser and bringing the Meiser, and this is referring to not just bringing Meiser because Meiser is the Raisa, but this is referring to. Give me a second. This is referring to the takanas of Ezra HaSefer that gave Meiser Rishon to the Kahanim also, and then Chizkiah subsequently also said that all the Meiser should go into a lishka, and they got distributed differently than they were used to doing it. So how do they know that these Gzeres they were masking to? This is one of the Josh that we had to know that the Mikra Megillah is written in Ruach HaKodesh. Bias came and said Hashem Yimachem l'kaitzim to the guy shekaitzim, so he used Hashem's name. V'aymer another raya Hashem imcha gibarcha. The Malach talking to Gideon, I think it was a general, and he said Hashem imcha. My I'm afraid more. Why do you need a second pasuk? V'chitem bias hu David midate umishmayla eskim al yada. How do you know that? How do you know that Bias they were masking to Bias? So Tashma v'aymer Hashem imcha gibarcha. So he's having the second pasuk, whatever. That the Malach said to Gideon. The Misharim talk about this story with Gideon happened way before, so how does it make sense that they were masking to him? That this loss of masking doesn't really add up because they were masking something that happened much later. Okay, you have Ein Sham. Habas Ma'aseh D'chsev Haviu as Kol HaMa'aseh al Beis HaTzoya v'Hi Terev B'Veisi uV'Chanuni Na B'Zayis, and testing with this one thing. Amar Hashem Tzavakais and La'Eftach Lechem Es Aruvais Hashemayim V'Havi Kaisi Lechem B'Rachis Ad B'Lidai. What does that mean? Ad B'Lidai Ma Ad B'Lidai Amar Rami Ba'Rav Ad Sheyiblu Svesechem Meloi Madai, until your lips get dried out from saying die, which has to be pretty intense because if you say the word die, you do not use your lips, your tongue and the back of your mouth, the roof of your mouth, but your lips are not involved in the word die. So for your lips to get dried out from saying the word die, that is a very intense amount of bracha. We should all be zeichet to see that. But you see from that pasuk, I'm sorry, that you see from that pasuk that they say to bring in all your mices into the lishka, into that Chizkiah is saying that Hashem told me that you should do that. So you see that he was masking of this Gezerah to bring in all the meisters and not to distribute them as they had done before. Okay, shkoyach everyone for coming, and we are Baruch Hashem going to finish tomorrow night.
Thank you very much, Mo.